Hey guys, my name is xOctoManx and this is a Patreon supported tutorial about how to create a little audio player. Basically the Patreon was requesting how you can actually play different clips in a row and then just repeatedly start over. What I want to do is I want to go a step further where we can actually go forward, go backward, stop and play whenever we like, whatever title we like. We're also gonna see what the title is going to be of that MP3 file or wave or whatever. When we're pressing play, it will automatically load one of those tracks. Also, we're gonna be able to see how long the track is and what the current time is, and also we are able to mute it with a mute button. So what we're gonna do is we actually go into the UI elements a bit later on, but coding is not too hard on that point. So I will clean up the scene and we will start in just a second. The first thing we want to do is we want to have some clips we can actually use in our audio manager, and we want to create one C# script. So create C# script and just call this one audio manager. So this audio manager is the only script we're going to create. So what we need at first is we need to open this C# script using MonoDevelop or Visual Studio, however you please and like. And yeah, let's talk about pretty quick what an audio manager is going to be about. And the audio manager itself will be just a clip holder actually, which is automatically loading playing clips from an array or a list of audio clips. And since you want to make use later on use of audio as well, like using the audio mixer, we're gonna implement using Unity engine.audio. So we have the possibility to later on go and connect our audio directly to a master mixer or any other mixer type if we like to. This will later on go into into UI elements where we're gonna be able to access text. We're gonna make use of Unity engine.ui. So with those two namespaces, we are actually able to complete or actually add all infos directly inside the audio manager. So what we want at first is we want to have a public array of audio clips. So we're gonna type in audio clip with a big A, and this is just our music list. And since it needs to be an array, we're gonna open close square brackets directly behind it, and we say music list. Okay, so what we can do is actually we can drag all our audio clips we want this particular audio manager to play directly in the music list. And we have direct access to them when we, for example, would go and loop through. What we also want is when we are creating our audio manager game object, we want to have a required component, and the required component is an audio source. So open close square brackets and say required component, and then an open close parentheses, we're gonna type in type of open close parentheses once again, and this is going to be of type audio source. So that means when we are dragging this audio manager to any empty game object or whatever, it will automatically create an audio source. And speaking of the audio source, we want to create a direct connection to the audio source as well. So we're going to create a private one of type audio source, and we just name this one source. And in start, we want to set the source to be the audio source we just already created directly on that. So actually we just say source is going to be equal to get component, and the component of course is the audio source directly sitting on the game object we just created or will create in just a moment. Actually we can also name this one as music clips or whatever you please and like. I'm gonna comment stuff out where we want to say when we are starting, we also maybe start to play music when when we are starting that. And how can we do that? At first we want to know what the current track is, and we need to know that since we are starting at 0 on the audio clip in here. We can already go in and loop through all of the clips currently inside, but it's basically easier to start at 0. So wherever the current track or the current clip in the list is. So what we create is a private integer. I just call this one maybe current track or current clip. We don't need to set this to anything, since our program or the functions we're gonna be actually creating later on will take care of this. We are not using update, we are going to use an enumerator for this one, which is checking if some music already is playing, and if it's so, it's not doing anything no matter where we are clicking. But what we want to do at first is we want to start to play any music. So what we want to do is at first we create a helper function for this one. We want to make this one public, since we also later on want to use this from buttons, and it's of type void because we are not returning anything. And I just call this function play music. Don't name it play, because play might be taken already from Unity itself as a function. When you are calling source.play in this case, there might be some weird stuff happening. So what we at first want to check is if our source dot is playing. We don't want to do anything when we are playing that or pressing on that music button actually. So what we say is we're gonna return, and actually we're gonna leave the complete function at that point. If we are not playing any source, we want to say the current track minus minus. So if we are at the current track of 0, we're gonna decrement this to -1. I will explain in a moment why. And what we also want to do is we want to check if at that point the current track is going to be smaller or equal, well actually smaller than 0. So we want to set the current track to the music clips length -1. So we're gonna go backwards. Okay, so let's do that. So if the current track at that point is smaller than 0, then we want just to say that the current track is going to be equal to music clips dot length -1. Okay, so actually we're gonna be at number 8 if we have 8 clips inside. -1 will be represent actually the 7th slot, since the array of 8 the last element would be number 7, not 8. Okay, and what we also want to do is we want to start the coroutine. So what this coroutine is actually doing, it's just checking for us if the source is currently playing or not. So we're gonna create an IE numerator for this one, and we're gonna name it maybe wait for music or music end. It doesn't really matter how you name it, just make sure you know what's happening inside. And what's happening inside is we want to check while the source is playing. So while source dot is playing, we don't want to do anything, or at this time or at this point we don't want to go further into anything. So what we do is we're gonna yield return null. So basically we're gonna idle until the source is not playing anymore. And when the source is not playing anymore, we want to go and play the next title, because currently we are playing one specific track already, but we want to continue playing all that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create another helper function for this one, public, and I call this one of type void, of course, next title. And this is basically just the same like the play music one, but a bit reversed. So the first one is we want to make sure that the source is going to be stopped at that point. I mean, usually it would be stopped automatically, but well, we don't know if there could something happening weird on that point, so I just make sure I stop the source. Then I want to increment the current track ++, while we are currently playing maybe number 0, we would automatically go and increment that by 1, so it would play automatically the next track. And of course we need to check once again where the current track is, and if the current track is higher than the maximum track amount because of the length of the music clips list or array. So we're gonna request or type in a little if statement once again. If the current track is in this case bigger than the music clips dot length -1, like we have done before, and of course we want to set the current track to be 0, so we have no overlay or overlapping when we already reached the maximum length of the music clips. And what we also want to do is we want to set now the source dot clip is going to be equal to the music clips in square brackets the current track. So we start to play, or actually to set the current clip to whatever the current music clip in the current track number. When it's at 0, it will load automatically 0 into that clip. And then we want to say source dot play. So we're gonna start to play whatever we currently have been loaded inside. Also, we can later on go in and show the current title and the other stuff, but we're gonna do that in a bit later. And what we want to do is, of course, we want to restart the coroutine, or actually we want to start the coroutine, which is called wait for music end. Open close parentheses after this one and close the line. Again in between, and here we want later on to show title. We're gonna go over into that. Okay, so what's now happening when we want to start to play the music? We want to call play music at first in start, so we call it directly under my under my commenting out in here. So we're gonna stop the music, or actually we call play music when there is something playing. We don't do anything. We're gonna reduce the current track, so actually we don't go further into the next track. Then when we're gonna protect if there's any underflow while resetting this one or setting this one to -1. And what we now want to do, of course, is we want to start the coroutine as well from play music. So in this case, after that if statement, we want to do the same as we did in the next title. So we say start coroutine. Actually we can just copy that line from this function in here and put this here. So what's now happening is we're gonna call play music. We're gonna start the coroutine after we have resetted all of that. While we are in that coroutine, we don't do anything except waiting, but when no source is playing at that particular point, which is at the first time, we call next title. So we want to load the next title, and that's why we decrement on play music the current track, because next title is incrementing the next track by once again. So that's just how those functions are just internally connected. Okay, so let's test this one out, or actually see what's happening when we are playing our music. I'm gonna stick all of that stuff together, don't forget to save, and let's create the audio manager. What I'm gonna do is I just created a new empty game object. Let's call this one audio manager, and now I can just drag in the audio manager in here. What you can see, automatically it creates the audio source. What you want to make sure is that play on awake is going to be disabled. If you want to have later on any effects or volume stuff and so on and so forth, feel free to use them. But for now we are not going over this one. As you can see, the audio clip, the current one, is empty, and same, we are not using any audio mixer group. Again, I may go over and use that in another tutorial. I'm not sure about that. Well, at least not for the moment. And now we're gonna have that array where we can actually put in all the musics we're gonna have. So I have all of those. I want to drag them all at once inside of that. So what I want to do is I want to hit that little lock symbol on the top right. Now I can just select them all and drag them directly on the music clip's name, so they will be automatically filled all into that. Okay, so what you want to do is next is to make sure the audio is the whole time running. This is specifically for web, or even when you're going or you try stuff inside the editor and you're leaving the window and coming back, it will automatically disable the audio manager, or actually start or restart this one when you're entering the editor once again. So what you want to do is you want to go to the build settings and to the player settings. What you want to set is you want to make sure that you run this in the background. Make sure that you enable that little check mark in here. Okay, so what we now do is we just check if that is working. So we just hit play, and what you can hear now is there's music playing. The first one is about 33 seconds long, so what I want you to notice is when the 33 seconds are going to be over, then the next track is automatically being played because of the numerator, which is waiting for the next track automatically, since we already coded this one in. So let's wait some more seconds and see if there's any problem with that. Well, nope. Okay, so this is working. He already got into the next title, but we don't have any visualization about that. What's the current title? We have no access. We are not able to say, okay, start this or stop this or mute this or whatever. And this is what we are going to do now, since this is actually not part of the Patreon request. I believe it still could be interesting for all of you guys and for the Patreon as well. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to create some more helper functions and some user interface pieces which we can use to manipulate whatever we need. Let's create a UI image, and it will automatically placed inside the canvas. I'm gonna use that little image just to be my my audio manager window, actually, or my audio window, which is holding all the buttons, which will also hold all the other stuff. And I could even go in and design that on my needs. Currently I don't do anything, but I renamed this one to audio player. So this image is going to be, or going to hold, all my audio player things in here. So what we need is, at first we need some buttons. The first button is going to be our play button, for example, where we are calling the play function, play button. The next one, we can already shrink them down to whatever the sizes we're gonna need in here. Again, we are not going into designing anything pretty fancy. I just want to let you know what you can do. I'm gonna duplicate this one some time in here, so this is going to be maybe our stop button. So I just rename this one to stop button. I will take care of the button text fields in just a moment. And duplicate this once again. This could be my previous button. The next one, duplicate this once again. Can be on the other side in here. Is going to be my next title button, actually, or next button. And the last one I want to implement for the moment is a mute button. What you can do is you can get rid of all the text and instead just put in some cool icons if you like to. You can just name them by using some text, or the text fields in here. For example, when this is the play button, you can actually say, okay, you want just the text play readable in here, or you can also go to some website and input some ASCII codes for triangles, as you have seen in the preview, for example. So it's up to you. I don't do that right now. I just want to type in what we need in here to make it as fast as possible. So this is going to be the previous button. So actually I can use some arrows or something to have at least something different. This is going to be the next button in here, and the mute button, well, I just type in mute like this. Okay, so what we now have is a basic interface for our audio player. Since we have 5 buttons in here, we might want to rearrange those, or maybe add another button in here, maybe whatever we need, I don't know. And we also want to have some info boxes which are holding tags for the time and the title inside our audio player as well. So let me just reduce that, create a new UI image, and I want to have the first one maybe going to the center point in here, and the other one to the left. Make sure you clamp those to that positions. You can also give it the UI sprite in here, so it's looking at least not too shabby at the moment. Duplicate this one once again and pass this over to the other side and shrink it down to the maximum size of that, and this is going to hold, or is just an image for the text for the time. So what I do is I create another UI element, in this case a text. Center this one to the center in here, and bring this maybe to the outline and a bit inside, so it's not going too far into the border. Want to check best fit, and since best fit can be too big at that point, you might want to reduce the height of the text field like this, and I'm going to do a rather black one color in here. So this is going to be the title text, and I want to duplicate this one as well and bring this as a child of the second image in here, and I want to make sure that I center this one out. What I want to have in here is 0:00 0/0/0:00, which is actually showing us the time. I also want to reduce it to match it inside the field. If it's just too small, then increase the size a bit to whatever your needs are. Okay, so now we have all of that. That's going to be our time text, and that's it. So our audio player is now ready to set it up, but we need to code some more functionality inside of that. So the first one is we need a previous title. So we're going to create a new public function in here, public void previous title, open close parentheses. It's public since we need to access from the buttons. And in previous title we're gonna do the same as we do in the next title, so but vice versa. So we're gonna copy and paste all of that stuff from the next title function and pass this one in here, but instead of increasing the current track, we decrease the current track. And also we're gonna need to rotate if the current track is smaller than 0, as we did already in the play function. We want to set the current track to be the music clips.length -1 track, which is the maximum of the list's track. And then of course we're gonna load once again whatever the current track is, and we want to play it at that point. If you don't want to play this one at that point, of course make sure that you just don't play it. So what we create now is a stop music function. So we want to be able to stop playing the music. So public void stop music, and what we want to do is we want to stop the coroutine which is currently running. We have two possibilities. We can stop all coroutines, which is the simplest one, but if you have other coroutines at the same time, you might go in and interfere those. So what you can say is you can actually call the specific coroutine you want to stop. I believe that is working. We're gonna test this one out. We need to call it as a string method, so in quotes we're gonna call wait for music and make sure it's written correctly, no typos. What we also want to do at that point is we want to say the source should stop. So source stop, open close parentheses, close the line with a semicolon as well. Once again, if the stop coroutine and method name is not working, why ever use stop all coroutines? But again, this might interfere other coroutines. Don't forget to save. The next helper function we want to create is the mute music. So we are able to mute the music. So we call it public void mute music, open close parentheses, and inside we just say source dot mute is going to be equal to not source dot mute. That means we just switch whatever it currently not is into whatever it is. Since mute is a bool, as you can see when you hover over, of type bool, so we can just switch whatever the current state is or the bool state to whatever it's currently not. So we can just rotate this around by just clicking on one particular button. Don't forget to save once again and often. What we now want to do is we want to make all our buttons to be functional. So what you want to do is you want to select all the 5 buttons, the play, the stop, the mute, the forward and the next one, or the previous and the next button, and go to on click event, press on plus, and now drag in the audio manager into that. And since all of those will have a different functionality, we just start with the play function or the play button. So we click on new function, audio manager, and search what play music is. Same for stop, press on audio manager and go to stop music. Same for the previous button, click audio manager, previous title, next button is going to be audio manager, next title. Now at least the last we're gonna have the mute one, where we can mute the button or the mute the music. Okay, don't forget to save. What you now can do is you can test already if that player is already working. So it automatically starts with the first title. I can now press on the next button. It automatically loads the next title. Go back. We are starting back on another one. You can also go one back further. So we hit the end of the playlist. You can also go in and mute, which you can see in the audio manager directly. Now mute is going to be on. When we press this once again, it is automatically off once again, but the music is still playing. When we're pressing play now, well, nothing happens since we already play, but when we are pressing stop, you can see the stop all coroutines, or the stop the current coroutine is not working as expected. The best way to fix that we're not able to stop the coroutine is actually the way how we started. Usually we can use stop all coroutines as already said before, but in our case this is, well, maybe not a good solution, since there might other coroutine running in the background which we would stop as well, depending on whatever is currently in the scene. Instead we just go into the play music, next title and previous title and change how we start the coroutine, and in this case we are not using the method name as that, but instead we're gonna call it with its string name. So we're gonna call wait for music end in a string like this. We're gonna do the same for the next title. So in here gonna get rid of the complete method name and pass over the method name of the enumerator inside a string. Same for the previous title, like that. And that should fix now our problem with the stopping of the coroutine. So let's test this one out. Title starts, and we can now press stop, and it will stop. We can also go to any other title, say stop, and it stops. And that's the best fix, or the best way we can use to stop all the coroutines we have currently running with the same instance name. So the next one is we want to implement text, which means we want to implement the title text and then the text for the time. So we create two more helper functions for this one as well. The first one is a public, well, actually it doesn't need to be public, it's just a void show current title, close parentheses, not a big one, and here once again just a small one. What we want to set is the clip title text dot text is going to be equal to the source we currently play dot clip dot name. And since name is of type string, it is already fixing into the text component in here. Also, what we want to do is we want to implement or calculate the full length of the current track. As you can see, I already have those four variables in here, and of course the text component, the text fields in here. So since there have been some recording troubles, this might not be inside the video you're gonna be seeing, so make sure you add those into as well. So we have a private integer of full length, or the name full length, and the clip title text and the clip time text. So what we want to do is now we want to say full length is going to be equal to the source dot clip dot length. So this is the maximum of the clip. But since this is returning in float, since you also can see in seconds and milliseconds, but not in minutes, we're gonna type to cast this one into an integer. Since I don't want to take care of the milliseconds of the length in that. Okay, so the next one is we want to make a connection to our audio manager, so you can actually update the clip title text whenever we load a new title or a previous title. In this case, we need to open the next title once again, and we call the function show current title. Open close parentheses, close the line with a semicolon. You can actually go in and copy this, go to the previous title function and do the same over here. Don't forget to save, and let's go to Unity. What you now can do is you can actually take the time tag, the title text and the time text. Once again, if that hasn't happened in the video you're gonna see, you just drag those directly into the fields and the corresponding ones. So we are able to update whatever it's currently, or whatever currently is inside. Now what you can see when I press play, Drone02 is the title, the first title in element 0 in here of the playlist on our audio manager script. When I go to the next one, it will automatically update it. If I go to the previous one, it will be updated as well at that point. Okay, that's pretty cool. What we now want to do is at the very last is implement the timer, so we can see from the full length and the current length or the current time, so we know how long it takes until this particular clip has ended. So we create another helper function for this one in here as well, which is of type void once again, and I call this one show playtime. Open close parentheses, and in here it's gonna be pretty simple. I already created the playtime seconds and minutes as private integers. What we want to do is we want to calculate whatever the current playtime is directly in the enumerator at first. So what we want to do is we want to say playtime is going to be equal to source.time. So now we know what the current time is where the track is actually on, but since that is also returning float with seconds and milliseconds, we want to typecast this one into an integer. Otherwise we would get a specific error I don't know about yet. And what we want to do is, after we're gonna read the playtime, we want to update this by show playtime, which we are going to call directly after the source has been updated, which is currently empty. Okay, so in show playtime we can now calculate what the seconds or the current seconds of the title is, and the seconds are equal to playtime modulo 60. That means every time 60 is going to get hit by playtime, it will reset to 0. Same for minutes. Minutes is going to be equal to playtime divided by 60, since 60 seconds are 1 minute, and of course we clamp this one with modulo 60 as well, so it's not overdoing it, since 60 minutes is going to be 1 hour in this case. So minutes cannot be higher than 60 as well. It will be resetted to 0. If you want to have hours later on as well in the audio player, feel free to implement this as well, but I'm not going to do that now. Okay, so now let's update the text. So in this case it's going to be clipTimeText.text is going to be equal to, and now we use the function or the variables we just calculated. At first we start with minutes. Minutes is going to be equal, or actually plus, minutes plus, then we want to have the colon in between some quotes, then plus once again, and then we're gonna see the seconds. Now I want to convert the seconds into a string, since I want to manipulate how many strings are gonna be able to see. In this case it's a D2, which stands for decimal. Plus, and in here we want to have the next one as a slash. For now I want to end here, and I want to show you what's happening with that. So let's compile everything, and once done, let's start that player. What you can see now is it automatically counts up the time and shows us the slash in here, and of course we have the text still. And when we are going to any other title, we're gonna start at 0 once again. Now we want to have the second part in here as well. We can clamp all that, or actually calculate that in front by using seconds and minutes as well, but since we are not calculating that from playtime but from the full length of the clip, we're gonna do that directly in here. What we do is, after that slash is a plus, and in a pair of parentheses and another pair of parentheses, and in that second pair we say full length divided by 60, which is going to represent the minutes, modulo 60 directly under that or behind that in the same bracket as you can see over here. So this will show us the maximum minutes whatever the current track has, plus then another colon in quotes, plus, and now we're gonna implement the seconds, which is in another pair of parentheses, once again the full length modulo 60, and we want to convert this one to a string as well. Dot to string, open close parentheses, and inside a quotes we're gonna say decimal 2 once again. Don't forget to save and press play once the compiler is completely done. So now you can see this track, Drones02, is going to be 33 seconds long, and currently it is at this particular time, and it's counting up. Same for the other tracks. When we're going through that, it automatically reads out all the data, and we can see where we are and what the current length of that is. Again, we still can mute all of that stuff. We are not able to play when actually a title is playing. We can stop that, can go to the next one if we like to, and that's about everything I wanted to talk about and show you in this little tutorial. Thanks for watching the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thumbs this video up if you like it, and feel free to become my patron or donate by using PayPal to support me and my channel in the future. All links will be below in the description. See you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.